Ladies and gentlemen, where you are versus where you could be. Let's get one thing straight. Where you are today is not where you have to stay. But where you'll go from here will depend on one thing: the standard you're willing to demand from yourself. Not your goals. Not your dreams. Not your desires. But your standards. Because goals are intentions. Standards are identity. You don't get what you want. You get what you're willing to tolerate. You get what you're willing to demand. And most people? They live far below what they're capable of. Not because they lack talent, but because they've learned to live with low expectations. You think greatness is reserved for the chosen few? You think high performers were born with something you weren't? No. They just raised their standard, and they refuse to lower it for anything or anyone. Low standards equals slow death. Let me be real with you. Low standards are a slow death. They don't kill your dreams all at once, they suffocate them, slowly, over time. You wake up a little later each day. You push your workout to tomorrow. You let one cheap meal turn into a bad week. You accept disrespect from people who should have been cut off months ago. You tolerate average effort at work, in relationships, in everything. And then one day, you wake up, and you don't recognize the person in the mirror. That's what low standards do. They steal your fire. They blur your vision. They make comfort feel like success, when deep down, you know you're falling. But here's the truth. The quality of your life is directly tied to the standard you set and refuse to lower. You want change? You want progress? You want to break the cycle? Then raise your standard. The moment you decide enough is enough. There is a moment in every high achiever's life. A single moment that changes everything. It's not when they win. It's not when they get recognition. It's not even when they succeed. It's the moment they look at their current life and say, enough. Enough with the excuses. Enough with the shortcuts. Enough with the procrastination. Enough with being average. Enough with blending in. Enough with being available to everyone but themselves. Enough with the old story. That moment is the beginning of transformation. That moment is when a standard gets rewritten. From I kind of want it to I refuse to live without it. Standards are greater than motivation. Let's talk facts. Motivation is fleeting. You're not always going to feel like doing the work. You're not always going to feel fired up. You're not always going to feel strong or disciplined or dialed in. But if your standards are high enough, you'll show up anyway. Because high standards don't depend on emotion, they depend on identity. It's not about how you feel. It's about who you are. You don't work out because you're motivated. You work out because that's who you are now. You don't keep promises to yourself because it's convenient. You do it because that's your standard now. You don't prepare, train, learn, build, and grind every day because it's fun. You do it because your standard demands it. And that's what separates winners from the world. not talent, not luck, not opportunity, but the non-negotiable decision to operate at a higher level every day, no matter what. Raise it or regret it. Let's be honest. You already know what you're capable of. You already feel it, that fire in your chest that says, I was made for more. But life doesn't give you what you're capable of. It gives you what you demand. So ask yourself, what are you tolerating that you should have cut out already? Where are you showing up at 70% when you know 100 is possible? What old version of you is still driving your life? Because every day you delay raising your standard, you're gambling with your future. And you know what the cost is? Regret. Not just for what you didn't do, but for who you could have become. From should to must. There's a line you have to cross in life. A line between should and must. I should wake up early becomes I must wake up early. I should get in shape becomes I must get in shape. I should be more disciplined becomes I must be more disciplined. I should chase my goals becomes I will stop at nothing to get there. That shift changes everything. Because when something becomes a must, it gets done. You don't negotiate. You don't delay. You don't whine. You execute. That's what high standards create, a level of execution that separates you from the masses. What raising your standard looks like. Let's get practical. What does raising your standard actually look like? It's not just saying, I want more. It's demanding more in every area. In your health, you don't miss workouts. You fuel your body. You treat your health like wealth. In your mindset, you protect your focus. You feed your mind with power, not poison. You guard your thoughts like a soldier guards his post. In your relationships, you cut off toxicity. You don't settle for lukewarm love or half-hearted friendships. You surround yourself with people who lift, sharpen, and stretch you. In your goals, you don't dabble. You don't kind of want it. You go all in. You make sacrifices. You go the extra mile every time. In your self-talk, you stop speaking like a victim. You speak with strength, clarity, and confidence. You affirm the person you're becoming, not the person you used to be. Your standard is your floor, not your ceiling. People think success is about hitting a goal. No. It's about raising your floor. Your standard should be the bare minimum you allow and not the maximum you hope for. If 5 a.m. used to be hard, now it's routine. If consistency used to be a struggle, now it's expected. If discipline used to be rare, now it's your identity. If others are clapping for something, and you know you could have done more, you're not impressed. Because your floor is higher than their ceiling. And that's the level where transformation lives. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Let's call it what it is. Comfort is killing your potential. See, most people don't fail because they're weak. They fail because they've made a home in comfort. They've gotten addicted to easy routines, soft habits, and minimum effort. They don't want to feel pressure. They don't want to sweat, grind, or stretch. But let me tell you the truth. Growth begins where comfort ends. You will never raise your standard while living inside your comfort zone. Because comfort convinces you you're doing fine when deep down your soul is starving. You were not built for average. You weren't made to just get by. You were designed to stretch, to expand, to evolve. But that only happens through discomfort. Every great athlete, every successful entrepreneur, every high performer, they didn't get there by staying comfortable. They got there by suffering with purpose. They got there by raising the bar, even when no one was watching. Especially when no one was watching. You get what you're willing to suffer for. Stop asking, "What do I want?" And start asking, "What pain am I willing to endure to get it?" Because pain is the price of progress. Want to be fit? You'll suffer in the gym, in the kitchen, in the early mornings when no one's clapping. Want financial freedom? You'll sacrifice nights out, comfort zones, and weekends while others party. Want success? You'll be doubted, misunderstood, rejected, and tired, but you'll keep moving. The size of your dream will always demand a matching level of suffering. If your goals don't scare you, if they don't demand more of you, then your standard is too low. Raising your standard means being willing to bleed for something that matters. It means suffering now, so you don't suffer from regret later. Raising your emotional standard. Let's talk about emotional discipline. Raising your standard isn't just about what you do. It's also about how you think and feel when things get hard. Because life will test you. You will have bad days. You will feel tired. You will face setbacks. But your response can no longer be based on emotion. It has to be based on standards. When stress hits, do you collapse? Or do you rise with clarity? When fear creeps in, do you freeze? Or do you act anyway? When people doubt you, do you shrink? Or do you smile and keep building? This is what high standards look like. You regulate your emotional world like a professional. You don't get pulled into drama. You don't feed your insecurities. You don't talk like a victim, feel sorry for yourself, or need validation. You walk like someone who knows where they're going. Beware of the old you. The hardest person you'll ever face is the old you. The version of you that tolerated mediocrity. The one who justified laziness. The one who made excuses, blamed others, stayed quiet, played small. That version is always trying to come back. Every time you get tired. Every time things get uncomfortable. Every time you're tempted to go easy on yourself. The old you whispers, "It's okay to skip today. You've done enough already. No one's watching. Relax. You deserve a break." But let me make this clear. Your future depends on your ability to kill the old you daily. That's why raising your standard isn't a one-time event. It's a daily war. A daily decision. You have to wake up and reintroduce yourself. Not to the world, but to yourself. You look in the mirror and say, "That version of me is gone. That version that made excuses is dead. The man or woman standing here now is built different. Standards create structure. Let's be practical. Raising your standard isn't about hype. It's about structure. If you don't create structure, your emotions will. And your emotions lie. You need standards that are scheduled, measured, and non-negotiable. What time do you wake up? That's a standard. How often do you train your body? That's a standard. How do you speak to yourself? That's a standard. How do you plan your day? That's a standard. How often do you learn, grow, evolve? That's a standard. Every standard you enforce becomes a brick in the foundation of the life you want. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for the perfect time. Set the structure. Live by it. Become unshakable. What happens when you raise your standard? Here's what happens when you raise your standard and stick to it. You stop tolerating weak habits. You stop surrounding yourself with lazy minds. You stop explaining your ambition. You stop hiding your goals. You stop needing motivation because discipline takes over. And then, you start waking up with purpose. You start operating with clarity. You start building momentum that compounds. You start moving different, and people feel it. You start leading instead of following. Because now, your standard speaks for you. You don't need to tell people who you are, they'll see it in how you move. When you decide, everything changes. Let's make this real. The moment your life changes isn't when you read a book. It's not when you listen to a motivational video. It's when you decide. Not a wish. Not a hope. Not a maybe. A decision. A line in the sand. A commitment that says, this is who I am now. That's the power of raising your standard. It's not about changing your life someday. It's about changing who you are right now. Because when your identity shifts, your habits follow. Your actions follow. Your future follows. You stop chasing motivation. You stop needing external praise. You stop waiting for permission. You become the person who just gets it done. Silence the noise. But to raise your standard, you've got to silence the noise. You've got to stop listening to the people who tell you to be realistic. You've got to stop scrolling through lives that aren't yours. You've got to stop comparing your timeline to someone else's highlight reel. Because greatness doesn't grow in noise. It grows in focus. It grows in silence. It grows when no one's clapping and you keep showing up anyway. Forget the distractions. Forget the opinions. Forget the crowd. You're not here to be average. You're here to be excellent. Keep your promises to yourself. You want to raise your standard? Start by doing the one thing most people avoid. Keep your promises to yourself. You said you'd wake up early? Do it. You said you'd go to the gym? Go. You said you'd build that business? Start today. You said you'd leave that toxic environment? Walk away. Every time you break a promise to yourself, your self-respect dies a little. But every time you keep a promise, no matter how small, your confidence multiplies. Discipline is self-love in action. The world doesn't owe you anything. But you owe it to yourself to become the person you said you'd be. And that starts by doing what you said you would, long after the feeling has faded. Your new standard must be uncomfortable. Let's be clear. If your new standard doesn't scare you, if it doesn't stretch you, if it doesn't demand more effort than you've ever given, it's not a new standard. It's a repeat of your old patterns, disguised as progress. Raising your standard is not about doing what's just enough. It's about doing what's necessary. It's waking up earlier. It's pushing harder. It's saying no to things that don't serve your mission. It's saying yes to the grind, to the representatives, to the pain that leads to growth. No more minimum effort. No more "I tried." No more "I'll start next week." The standard is now, whatever it takes. People will notice. Let them. Here's what happens when you raise your standard. People will notice. Some will be inspired. Some will be confused. Some will be intimidated. And some will try to pull you back down to where they feel comfortable. Let them talk. Let them doubt you. Let them watch. Because your job isn't to make others comfortable. It's to make yourself unstoppable. You weren't put on this earth to be liked. You were put here to leave a mark. And you don't do that by fitting in. You do that by standing out. By leading with action. By showing what discipline, integrity, and ambition really look like. So don't lower your standard to make others feel safe. Raise it so high they're forced to level up or leave. This is your time. Listen closely. This is not just another video. This is not just another speech. This is your wake-up call. You've got one shot at this life. No second take. No dress rehearsal. Just right now. And if you want more, if you want greatness, you've got to earn it. So stop tolerating less. Stop shrinking to fit. Stop blaming your past, your circumstances, your pain. None of those define you anymore. What defines you now is the standard you hold yourself to. Final call, burn the excuses. Right now, burn every excuse. I'm too tired. Burn it. I'm not ready. Burn it. I don't know how. Burn it. I'm too late. Burn it. I've failed before. Burn it. No one believes in me. Burn it. It's not about who believes in you, it's about who refuses to quit. You don't need perfect conditions. You need relentless commitment. You don't need all the answers. You need unbreakable standards. You don't need anyone to save you. Because now, you're the one who shows up. A new standard begins now. So here's your truth. You were never average. You were just operating below your potential. You were never lazy. You were just uninspired by low standards. But now, that's over. The old you is done. The excuses are burned. The weakness is buried. This is your rise. This is your time. This is your new standard. Now go prove it.